Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praises to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand events that are currently happening on the earth, so we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, as we're getting more understanding, once we go back and look at videos and movies and some things that we've maybe connected to in the past, we're going to see more things. I used to watch this movie all the time, Braveheart. I felt a real connection to this movie. I don't know why I felt so connected to it, but it was just like a great movie, and I really loved watching it. I would watch it again and again and again for years. And but with some of this new information, I've been reading and getting more understanding about how the British and the Romans were working together against the Celts. And you start going back into these movies and you kind of see what's going on. And you start to see that the superpower that was actually present before the Romans took over was the Black Celts. And see, these guys have known this entire time, and they've made all these movies, and they've just interjected themselves into our story. But something that was in this movie, if you remember from the start of it, it has our story, and just the things that happens to our people all the time is what was happening in the story. Like the King of England would want to have a truce, just want to have a discussion, and he would lure the leaders of the Scots to a place where they were not supposed to bring any weapons, and they were just gonna have a conversation so they could work their problems out. And what would happen? The king would break his treaty and go ahead and kill, the Scots who would come in, always breaking the treaties. Is that not what they do all the time? Is that not what they did with the natives as well, the Aborigines here? I think they made over 400 treaties and broke them every single time, but then want to play godly as they're breaking all of their agreements. And see, this was happening in the movie at the beginning when William's father was killed. William's father was killed, and this is a huge part of the movie that confirms what we're studying and what we're learning right now in the Irish Wisdom book. Now, what we have to understand is that the Celts, our people, were the light of the world. They were the ones that were bringing knowledge and understanding to the world. And the Roman church was pretty much set up to bring forth ignorance and darkness. And we were set up to bring the light and understanding. And a whole microcosm happens, at the beginning of this movie that shows that. Now, when William was young and his father was killed, his uncle Argyle came to get him, and Argyle takes him back with him. But something happened at the beginning there when William reached or tried to touch Argyle's, I think it was Argyle's Uncle Argyle's sword, and he said, "First, I'm going to teach you how to use this," talking about his mind, "and then I'll show you how to use the sword." Now, that's how our people have always been. It's been like, learning that knowledge, understanding, getting that understanding, growing our mind. That will be the first and foremost thing. And then from there, you learn your tactics, things learn like that. And then you learn the military aspect of it. But see, Esau, it's all about his blessing as a sword. He's not worried about learning knowledge, understanding. All he wants to do is use his sword. That's all that he's worried about, is using his blessing, which is just to rape, rob, murder, and destroy. He's only built to destroy. Our people are built to lead. Our people are built to be that light of the world. Now, we know that, and this is what's been hidden. Something that's been hidden is that the superpower at the time that was, all over Europe were the Celts. They were the ones that were bringing knowledge to the world. And like the last video I talked about how, that whole the whole way of thinking of the Celts was already spread all over Europe at that time. And that was something that, the Romans and these British wanted. They wanted to usurp power from the Celts. They wanted to, get their turn. They knew eventually they were going to get their blessing and they were going to get control of the world. And that's exactly what happened. But see, this is what happens here is that when Uncle Argyle comes to get William, tells him, we're going to teach you how to use your mind first. Then we'll teach you how to use the weapons. Now, they hid something in there, though. The name Argyle. I'm looking up, like, what does that mean? What does Argyle mean? And before we get into what Argyle means, this is another part right here, that shows us our people. His wife here is getting raped, violated by the English, and she gets killed for fighting back. Is that not the things that happen to our people? If you try to fight back, you get killed for fighting back. You actually, get punished for trying to protect yourself. These are the kinds of things that show you that this is our story. These are the things that have happened throughout our history. Things that, they just tried to, write out our people and make it seem like it's these so-called Scots or, or these Irish people, these white Irish, and we know it's not them. Okay? She ends up getting killed for trying to protect herself from being raped and trying to fight back. Take a look here. What nationality is the name Argyle? Okay, Scottish. From the regional name Argyll, a county of southwestern Scotland, named in Gaelic as, I'm not going to try to even read that, Gatehill, coast of the Gaels. Argyll was the earliest part of Scotland to be settled by Gaelic speakers from Ireland from the 6th century onwards. Another one, Argyle, origin and meaning. The name Argyle is a boy's name of Scottish origin, meaning an Irishman from the land of the Gaels. So he's representing the Irish. He's representing an Irishman. Uncle Argyle is representing our people. And what is he bringing to young William Wallace? Knowledge and understanding. And like the woman he ended up marrying, she couldn't read, and he was like, I'm going to teach you how to read. And he's like, he's like, well, I'm going to teach you how to read, but in what language? Because he knew multiple languages, because he learned that from his uncle. His uncle was representing what our people were doing, bringing light to the world, bringing knowledge, understanding to the world. You see that? And they put that in there. They didn't want to tell you that it was actually the Irish that were responsible for bringing this light at that time. So they hid it under the name of Argyle, his uncle. So, you have to get more understanding, but then you start to see it like, hey, those are our people. That was their job, to bring knowledge and understanding. William Wallace was raised by the uncle, and he got knowledge and understanding he wouldn't have gotten had he stayed in those lands. Then he came back, and once he got that understanding, he was a terror to the English. Just like now. Don't read, don't study. That's what's been pushed on our people. Don't read, don't study. Just play sports. Just look at this, and just be occupied with things that don't matter. Because they know that once the Most High gives us that spirit back and gives that knowledge, understanding back, that we will end up being a terror to the world, because then we can think for ourselves. That's why the church, the Catholic Church, the Romans, it's all about keeping us from learning anything, keeping us from studying anything, keeping us from our history, keeping us away from books, keeping us away from knowledge. Because in that lowered vibration and lowered state, we're much easier to control. Once the Most High starts giving us that understanding back, giving us, opening up our minds to how things were before, that's when the problems begin. That's why it's always been an issue with us coming back, and working together. That's something they've always worked against. They've always worked against that. And that's why in Psalms of Solomon, okay, from the Old Testament pseudepigrapha, page 653, it said we were obliterated their memory from the earth. That's why it was so important for them to obliterate our memory, the memory of us, from the earth. Now it's all starting to make more sense as to why they do the things that they do, why these things are hidden. Like, people talk about, these Christians always talk about how they love the scriptures and this and that. But see, the scriptures all over the place talk about us losing our heritage. But that's nothing that they ever talk about as far as being part of prophecy. They never talk about us losing a knowledge and understanding of who we are. That's never part of prophecy for them. Like Jeremiah 17:4, even thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. I mean, this is huge, and this is why it makes so much sense as to why they don't teach about us losing our identity, because they've been the ones that have been responsible for it. That has been one of the main tenets of the Catholic Church, bringing forth ignorance and extinguishing the light. That's what they've been doing this entire time. You the dry bones now. You start to see, who was responsible for the dead bones and the dry bones in the valley. The Roman Catholic Church. The English at that time as well. They were all working together. And the Roman Catholic Church ended up, getting other people to go along with the destruction of the Black Celts as well. I said it's just absolutely amazing when you start to really get into it. That 1 Peter 2:9, how in the past we weren't a people. We're not going to be a people. We're going to lose all knowledge. And this is, and now the Most High is giving it back to us. And that's why you start to see these kinds of things. And you start to go back and look at these movies, and you start to see how the Most High made them put these things in these movies so that we would be able to see it here at the end. We would be able to see how they were hiding. We're hiding us right in plain sight in front of everybody. Just like 2 Esdras 2:7. Let their names be put out of the earth, for they have despised my covenant. Our names were put out of the earth. We didn't even realize that we were a superpower, and that we were the superpower that the Romans were trying to extinguish in order for them to get their turn. They broke us down into so many different little groups, but we were the ones that we were at the pinnacle, and we were the ones that they were trying to destroy and they wanted to take over. We had popes, and it's kind of funny because when some of the conscripts were coming to join William Wallace, one guy got on his knees and said, "I'm here willing to die, fight and die for you." And he says, "Get up, man! I'm not the Pope." Now we know that the English supposed had like a Pope. I'm not sure that's what they would call him. I'm not sorry, the Celts had a Pope, and see the Romans wanted to take that position as well, because they weren't talking about the Pope of Rome, because the English were in line with the Pope of Rome. So he wouldn't have been referring to that Pope. So I'm sure he was referring to the Pope that was over the Celts. And we'll be bringing out more of this information as we, make more videos and bring out more information. But, we're going to read a little bit of Psalms of Solomon. It says, when my soul slumbered, I was far away from the Lord, wretched for a time. I sank into sleep, far from God. For a moment, my soul was abhorred to death. Now you start to see why the church hid a lot of these verses, these books, because they didn't want people to understand what was really going on and how deep Psalms 83 goes. All praise to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.